given the nature of our topic today, I think it's appropriate that I start within the My Strategy area. Now, OnePlan has a bunch of navigations over here of different areas of the product because it's a full functional end-to-end piece that I showed you in that slide of the process all the way through OnePlan. But if we think about starting with overall strategies, you can model objectives and key results or whatever other strategic model you'd like to put in place here and model it the way you like. Now here we've got a simple hierarchy of objectives and key results, but you can also have a hierarchy here and do this by organization and by organizational structure, so that you can have these things layered and nested and summarized by those different organizations. You know, internally we use it for our own strategic plan, and we have a subset for sales and marketing as well as product development and what we're doing in operations and those types of things, and having all those roll up to an overall strategic plan for the organization. Now in here, in this My Strategy, you can see that we have the objectives, which are really the overall strategies that we're putting into place, and then the key results, which is really the tangible measures on how we're doing on progressing towards achieving that overall objective. Now, if I drill into, say, an objective, you can define these how you like. OnePlan's a very configurable solution, and this form that you see here on this details page can capture the data that you deem appropriate on that. Now here we have a life cycle of this, a proposed objective, an active objective, and whether or not it's been closed. We can give it certain time frames or horizons if you have like quarterly objectives and things like that. And we can categorize these things with different pieces of data and metadata, right? And we can have different narratives of description and even prioritization mechanisms we talked about, and even some either high level or detailed estimates on what it's going to take from a budget and what kind of benefits we think we're going to achieve or value we're going to achieve on these. Now, the thing here is that we can have what we call associations. In this particular case, this objective itself is associated with 3 key results. And those 3 key results basically are the tangible measures on whether or not we're going to be achieving this objective. Now, anywhere in this solution, we can then take a look at the visualizations that we talked about and how these associate. So for example, if I look at a visualization from this objective perspective, I have no real predecessors and successors that are happening here that are identified here. And if there were, they'd be identified here. But I do have what's called a runway. And here I can look at how this objective is associated with 3 key results, but then also associated with them are 4 projects and epics that are aligned with the key results, which then align with that objective itself. And then these individual projects also align with different products that we're associated with, different applications, different business capabilities, and we're even tied to some value streams that we've identified within our organization. You can also notice here that we have colors. In this case, we've decided that the color is the status. And I can look at certain things, like I say, there's an application that's red here, and I can drill into the details, or I can drill into the whole element itself to take a look and see what's going on with that situation or what's going on with that and what other things might be dependent on that. At any given point in time, we can do that as we go through this. Now, from the key results, I could either look at the associations I showed you in the detail page, or I could go just drill right into a key result right here from the visualizer. And in the visualizer, a key result that was associated here actually does have a dependency. It does have a successor to it that's dependent on us. And it also has its own runway that, if we look at the key result, this is tied back to the objective, but this particular key result is aligned with 2 different projects and or epics, no products. There is an application and a value stream and a business capability that's associated with, so we're focused through on that. And as I look at the details around this, I can have my own set of metadata. I can have the different metrics that I want to design. In this case, we're choosing either numbers or percentages or dollars. And then here, the current number of implemented governance framework is basically we got 75 out of 100 achieved, or 75%. And then down below, you can see where we've associated with 2 projects, an application, and other things that we're associated with here. And you can, at any given point in time, create new ones that you want to associate with, or existing items if you have the permissions to do so. So once again, flexibility on how these all interrelate. And we can even put work plans in place. So if you want to put a schedule in on how we're going to actually achieve this actual key result or things that we want to do, that's possible in here as well. Now, if you look at this from a next stage, this should spawn off what requests and ideas come in as potential projects in the organization. And this ideas area that feeds in and supports these strategies is something that we can do right here within OnePlan. For example, we could have ideas here like a website redesign that may be aligned with certain things. And as I look down here, there is a key result: increase website traffic by 20% through SEO and content marketing efforts. So that's a key result that this idea would support. And we might want to factor that in to our selection of this and whether or not we embark upon this and whether or not we approve it. And if we look at this here, yes, this website redesign is lined back here up through the strategy and through the key result. And there's also a product involved that supports this key result as well. And as we go back and look at the details on this, you can structure this and prioritize it. You can give it dollar values and budgets, etc., funding sources, or whatever other data you'd like to capture around that as we go on through. And so the key here is to be able to capture this in one solution. Some of these may spawn off of objectives and key results, but ultimately this provides an overall funnel of potential projects and initiatives that you can in turn at any given point in time decide to promote, convert, and reorganize this idea or this request into a project or into an epic and carry forth with it all the data and all the alignment and association that we had with it as we evaluated this. Now, as we're looking at this and evaluating this, and I'll show you some in strategy as well, let's just say in the ideas area, we were looking to evaluate, what things we might want to work on. And we could ask Sophia, say, based on priority and ROI, what 3 projects should we approve and why? And it will take an analysis of that and give us an idea of what it is that we should maybe prioritize out of this based upon the data that we have in here. And as it's thinking, it's really tapping into all the data it has from OpenAI. It's looking at what we've trained it on strategic portfolio management and on OnePlan. And then in an unlearned basis, it's actually looking at what's actively in your view here and the data that you have in your ideas area and factoring that into its decision. And here it's giving me the cybersecurity audit, which I got to do. And the reason is it's got high prioritization scores and returns, and it's also important for critical security needs and while providing a solid return. Voice assistant integration, same rationales that it's giving as we go through. So the idea here is it's helping us through a large number of requests, maybe help us prioritize and get some analysis that we may not have thought of as we go through here. Now, ultimately, these things turned into a portfolio of projects. And as we go into our project portfolio, we can see that we have our own structure in the project portfolio like we had in the strategy portfolio. And here you can see we've got portfolios, programs, projects and epics, and even detailed features, maybe for more agile approaches. And as I look through here and I expand this out, you can see that we have a portfolio or portfolios for different parts of the business. We have programs within those. And by the way, this hierarchy is structured any way you like it to be, in any way you define your organization. But here, notice that we have a bunch of projects and epics within this portfolio and within this program, and we're managing those in a way that is most conducive to that. We're either using OnePlan by itself for its planning, or we're bringing in data from other tools in the organization like Microsoft Planner, Smartsheet, Microsoft Project for the Web, or Microsoft Project Professional. The key here is that this portfolio can be managed the way you like. And in that, you can get different views along the way. Now, here you can have list views with different perspectives, like more financial-oriented views, maybe more prioritization-oriented views, etc. You can have board views as you want to look at things from a more agile perspective or lean perspective as we go through that. and be able to drill into the details at any given point in time, like we talked to with that quick edit pop-up, like what's going, what's going off track with this red marketing project pro, and being able to understand where that's at. And I can see it's because the schedule's off track is the problem that we have, and be able to drill into those things. And even roadmaps. By the way, though I did not show it in the strategy area, all these views, whether they be list views, board views, or roadmap views, are all available in the strategic plan as well. And as we go through here, even dashboards with Power BI reporting are available to us as well. So the key here is that we got visualizations, visibility, dependencies all the way through this solution. Okay. As we drill into a particular project, and we take a look at that, within that, you determine, or your teams determine, what information they want to capture around these things, and be able to have these things aligned back. As we look here through this, I can see that this project is aligned with a bunch of key results in here. It's aligned with other things like applications and products and value streams. But the idea is you have visibility and factoring that into those decisions all the way through. And whether it be a work plan, whether it be a resource plan, now in the individual projects, you can determine what you need from a resourcing perspective, what you need or what your budgets are from a financial perspective, right? And then ultimately, we talked about resource constraints and allocation being important. Those things all roll up into an overall resource plan that will allow us to take a look at the resourcing and what we need, and whether or not the plans that we have in place are supportable by this. And we can look at this in terms of granular things like hours, or maybe just simply in FTEs, where I can see that Jim Halpert is actually almost double booked here in June, or over allocated significantly between May and September based upon the plan and all the projects that he is on. And once again, we can do things like look for alternatives. We can look for reconciliation and find resources that can actually maybe take some things off of Jim's plate. For example, if I look for matches of resources that might have availability, that I could say replace Jim with that resource up above. So once again, I can reconcile this to make sure that the plan that we're depending on for our strategy is actually doable from a resource perspective. Okay. I guess the other key piece that's important from a strategic office perspective is the idea of doing what-if analysis. And if you come in here and you basically want to look at doing, say you want to do strategies and you want to look at what's going on with the IT group, you could come in here and look at a scenario whereby these are all the potential, these are the active and potential new things that we're looking at working on, but we have constraints. And I can see that if I look at it from a resource perspective, I can see that I have over allocations, that maybe this isn't exactly doable. Maybe from a financial perspective, I can take a look in here and I can see that it's exceeding what my budget targets are within there. And I can do different scenarios whereby I could come in and say, what if I looked at a $10 million constraint scenario on a budget? And I can select and deselect projects or time phase the projects in the way that made sense, and actually get these down to a project that is limited to a $10 million of budgeting within that. And they basically take a look at the things that are in and the things that didn't make the trip as we did our analysis, totally in a scenario model without impacting your production implementation yet. And you might even see in here that from a resource plan perspective, that this plan now is also doable, definitely more doable with only minor over allocations given the constraints that we put in here. So once again, models like this can be established as you see fit. You can even have specific models for a strategy office, right? Whereby they could have their own things that they want to do, and they have to determine and make those determinations and basically do their own scenarios whereby they put different constraints in place. And scenario one may have certain things in or out, and be able to analyze between those different scenarios what those are and what's in scenario one, what's in scenario two, etc. So the idea here is to be able to evaluate these things completely as we go through. Now, from a strategy perspective, Here, just like we talked about in the project portfolio, these list views that are available to us that we can take a look at any given point in time with different perspectives. We have board views that we can look at with the different strategies. Here, I've got different swim lanes. I dig different columns that are by the actual objective themselves and the key results, but I could also take a look at them in a variety of other ways. I could have different swim lanes, etc. Maybe I have, swim lanes on things like business units and other departments or other things that I'd like to deal with. The same thing on our roadmap piece. We can actually have those same roadmap views we have with our project portfolio and have those come into play here for the strategy as well. Now, as we look at dashboards, we have Power BI reporting that allows us to get an idea of which key results are actually performing, what our key results portfolio looks like and the details around that, and even look at things like objectives and objective progress and how we're doing on achieving the key results within those, etc. The idea here is we have reporting and visibility that helps you stay on track.